Welcome back, YouTubers, to our TNA Destination X review with none other than us, the British Fist. Ka-ching indeed. Mr. Parkin here. Sitting next to me is the one and only NJ.
What's up?
Subscribe up there somewhere, like this video down there somewhere, and comment your thoughts down below, definitely, on this action-packed pay-per-view in that comment section below.
Make sure to contact us in the link in the description box below.
Indeed, Destination X 2012, the year after Austin Aries won a contract to wrestle for TNA. He is then main eventing Destination X. The first thing I want to note about this pay-per-view is Jeremy Borash on commentary. How much better is he than Taz?
He's definitely got more of a voice for commentary, yes.
Yes, he is definitely a lot more entertaining than Taz on the mic. I'll just say that. I guess we should really start off with the 5 qualifying matches we got. Give our quick thoughts on those, then go into the more important matches on this pay-per-view. We started off with the last chance 4-way match. We had the 4 losers from the qualifying matches: Rubix, Mason Andrews, Dakota Darso, and Lars only. I couldn't help but feel that in this match that Rubix, aka Jigsaw from Shikara, was probably the most over guy in this match. It kind of surprised me that Mason Andrews won this match, considering Rubix was the most over guy there.
Well, the way that Rubix was performing, I just thought the fact he was performing in a way that stood out, he got the crowd behind him as well, and in my opinion, the most recognised guy. I really thought that he had the chance to obviously go into this and be a bit more of a fast-paced mover in the later matches, but obviously they had a different idea and gave us someone that I personally just really didn't care much about.
It was your typical sort of X Division indie style match, and it got the crowd going, which is kind of the job of the opener. This led us right on to the next match, which was Mason Andrews versus Kid Cash. Now, Mason Andrews, in my opinion, didn't get that great of a reaction. So to put him against the guy in Kid Cash, who was ultimately in there to try and get Mason Andrews over, was, in my opinion, a smart booking decision by TNA. They had, Kid Cash doing all the heel stuff, and this is the kind of thing you needed for Mason Andrews to get him liked by the TNA crowd a little bit more, in my opinion. So it was smart booking by TNA, this was.
Well, I went straight into this match, and either way, I really don't care, but my main thought going into this was don't make Kid Cash win. I really don't like him. So the fact that we got Mason Andrews, a guy that I still didn't know much about or cared much about, I still wanted him to be Kid Cash, and I got that. So overall, for the second match, I say, I got what I wanted.
Interesting fact about Mason Andrews, a couple of weeks ago, he was in fact jobbing to Ryback as part of a 2 local jobber tag team. But there we go, from jobber to in an X Division title match, but there we go. In our next match, we had Kenny King versus Doug Williams in the other X Division tournament semi-final. The first thing we noticed about this is Kenny King came out as a face. Do you definitely prefer Kenny King as a jumping baby face? Because I do.
Well, with the guy that TNA obviously now want to get over, I think for a guy like this, for him to come in as a strong face, get the crowd behind him, loving him, that's definitely going to help his career move on. If he came as a heel, yes, there are heel fans, but I think the face is definitely going to give him a good direction in his future in TNA now.
Especially with all the news that's been going around with him surrounding ROH and all the momentum that's coming off him being on the TV show, you kind of had to make him a face here. You kind of got Doug Williams in this match, who's the vet, kind of similar to the first match, the veteran that's going to maybe slow the match down a little bit and get him over to a point where, he could be in that Ultimate X match and be ready for the crowd. The match got about 10.5 minutes. I kind of feel that it was maybe a tad long. It still did its job of getting Kenny King through as predicted, despite the match going on a little bit long, in my opinion.
Well, with Kenny King, we do want to see more of his wrestling performance, but in 10.5 minutes, I think that is pushing a bit too much to give us what we want. This match was entertaining in some way, but I will say this, it weren't as good, in my opinion, as the TV show match, where we saw more of a fast-paced performance, more of an entertaining performance than this. And I thought this match was a bit more slower, not much of the Kenny King that I wanted to see in this match, which I was hoping for some more performance in a more entertaining way than what we got. Taking nothing away from Kenny King, because I did like him in this match, and I did want him to win, for him to progress, but I didn't feel the Kenny King I had in the TV show.
I guess you can make the argument that Doug Williams isn't really an X Division wrestler, but he's more the guy that's definitely going to get Kenny King ready for that Ultimate X match. Sonjay Dutt versus Rashad Williams was next. This was a better X Division style match. It didn't get as much time, but Rashad Williams played the heel role quite well here, and it was always at the end of the day going to be to get Sonjay Dutt through. Like I said, it was a better X Division style match, especially from the first two, which kind of had more sort of heel face elements in there, trying to get the guys over. This was a better X Division match, in my opinion.
This match out of all the matches we've had so far, was definitely lived up to what I wanted to see from these star matches. This match entertained me. It got me to what I want to see from Dutt. It was definitely a good match. There weren't many slip-ups, and I was really entertained by this match, and he definitely deserved the win.
Yep, Sonjay Dutt is through to the Ultimate X match then. We had a quite special moment on this pay-per-view, and we had a sort of video update on Jesse Sorensen. Basically, we had the whole video package of him and his injury and his rehab. And then we had a special appearance from Jesse Sorensen in the middle of the ring talking about how he's going to take the X Division title from Zema Iron, which kind of projected the result of the Ultimate X match in a way. But it was a nice touch to have Jesse Sorensen on the show itself. As it seems like they're trying to plant the seeds for this Sorensen-Zema Ion feud. So I did like the addition of Jesse Sorensen on this X Division pay-per-view.
Well, with the video package to begin with, it was very touching. It definitely built up the story of what happened to him, got his mother involved, really made us feel emotional more towards him. Then for the appearance to actually take place, very nice surprise. He got straight to the point by saying how emotional it was and how hard it was for him, but how he's going to keep continuing to working hard, and he hopes that Ion gets the win so he can face him, come back and win the belt off him. So it's definitely warming up a future feud, future title match, and I'm definitely looking forward to this. This was definitely a good moment for TNA and the future of Jesse Sorensen.
Indeed, TNA planting the seed early. This feud between Ion and Sorensen could be a very good one, whether it involves the X Division Championship or not. But this was a good segment to kind of plant that seed for that feud in a good amount of time. It's good how they had this match just before that segment just before the Zema Ion match as well, because you had Jesse Sorensen coming out and Zema Ion kind of mocking him, talking about breaking his neck, and that led us on to the Zema Ion Flip Casanova match. And from what we saw of Flip Casanova on the TV show, he was kind of botchy, so I'm not surprised this match only got about 4 minutes just to prevent him from busting another guy's nose.
That's true. In this match, again, I didn't overly care about this again, because this Casanova guy, we don't get to know much about beforehand.
He does flips.
Now we have Ion who steps in, and we know that he was obviously going to get the win, because obviously how he's been built up, and how he's been pushed towards Austin Aries when he was the champ. So expected him to go over and win this match. And the match was pretty good. We had Ion playing the heel tactic really well, but it was a quick match just to get the result of what we all expected.
Yep, Zema Ion going through was pretty much predicted, and Zema Ion is the only heel in that Ultimate X match. But there we go. I think, overall, did you think that the qualifying matches were effective in showing these guys going into the Ultimate X match?
I expected going into this pay-per-view a bit more entertainment from these matches building up to the Ultimate X. The Dutt match was my favourite by far. I expected more from King, but I did enjoy the match. The other two matches I didn't really care about. So overall, they weren't what I expected, but we got our wrestlers now going to the Ultimate X match, so it did its job that way.
It did its job at what the qualifying matches needed to do. The right three guys went through, and the fourth guy didn't really matter in the end. But it's funny also how these guys each have their own individual stories. Kenny King's coming from a different promotion. Sonjay Dutt has never won the X Division Championship. Mason Andrews has been made out to be this massive underdog from being the loser. And, who else? I can't remember who else won. But they all have their own little stories, which is pretty good. Zema Ion being like the sort of X Division veteran in a way. So I thought it was pretty effective, but, opinions can be done. I rated it all as a whole in the description box there rather than match by match. So I kind of thought it was a little bit pointless rating them match by match, as they're all kind of just leading up to the bigger match, similar to like King of the Ring. So we got Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle in a Bound for Glory series match. I think this is the right match to have right after the 4 qualifiers. This was a good match, wasn't it? I definitely enjoyed this match.
Well, the first thing I'll say first is on the Go-Home show, we had Hardy and Storm. That we said straight away could be a pay-per-view match. So maybe these could have been switched over, but this is another match that has been built up in the past feud. So for them to have a pay-per-view match was definitely worthy because of its history. This match definitely got me entertained. I was really behind this match, especially with the leaderboard where Samoa Joe was points behind James Storm. So I was rooting for Samoa Joe for that reason, and also the reason that I just think Angle's already the big star he is, and Samoa Joe hasn't had the best couple of months. So for him to be in the Bound for Glory and as high as he is, definitely worth him winning.
It's definitely better than last year when he was, on minus 10 points or something like that. So to see him, especially see him get the victory here and go 1 point ahead of James Storm, was good in my opinion. It was another. I'm surprised they didn't try and play up their history a little bit more in a video package or something. But it was another good match between these two that almost went the time limit, and they worked it pretty well considering they only really had 15 minutes to work with here. So Samoa Joe wins by referee stoppage. So technically, Kurt Angle didn't need to do a job. And it's kind of nice how now Samoa Joe is becoming a massive force in this tournament. I think it's a well-deserved push for a guy like Samoa Joe.
That's true. To talk about his push, he had the interview at the beginning where he definitely led up to this match, saying how he's just going to get the 10 points and show Angle that he's the better man. The match itself, it showed that he did promise he's going to do a submission move, but putting him to sleep, I really like that. Obviously, have the battle that Angle was putting in, it definitely came down to obviously the right man winning, in my opinion. The only thing I had was after putting Angle to sleep, as soon as the match was over, Angle was up like thinking, oh, what happened here? What happened here?
I don't know, but we'll move on to the next match. We've got to now the sort of 3 big matches on the pay-per-view. First of which was AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels in a last man standing match. Now, the question that was going into this was, were these two going to put on the same kind of match, which was going to be boring because we've seen it so many times, or were these guys going to do something different? And with the last man standing stipulation in there, they definitely offered us more of a brawl rather than the typical kind of spot fest match that you usually expect from these two. And in my opinion, that was very refreshing and made this match a lot more interesting to watch than just their usual average wrestling match.
Well, we go into this thinking, okay, this match was expected to happen because TNA loved this feud. But the thing is, don't promise it's going to be one more match, then do another match, then probably have another one at Bound for Glory. Yeah, but this match, it was definitely the stipulation, the story build up to it, even though I don't really think, like, we didn't see Dixie tonight, so the story behind this didn't really feel like they were fighting because of the story. It feels like it was just a wrestling match between these two. So even though it was good, because it was still a great wrestling match, they didn't really play up the story to this match on the pay-per-view.
I guess the whole story behind it was AJ getting his revenge on Christopher Daniels. That's how they played it up on the Go Home show. And AJ did get his revenge after what I thought was a pretty good match. It was told quite a good story. I think the highlight of this match has to be that final ending spot where you had the Stars clash off the stage through the table, which led to AJ Styles getting the victory 10 count, just getting there before Christopher Daniels got up.
Well, the 2 quick points I want to make about this is that for a guy that hasn't really had the strongest involvement apart from the Go Home show, Kazarian getting involved and doing the massive push up the ramp, and down goes AJ, and then Christopher Daniels and Kazarian looking down. That could have been the way to wrap it up, because then that would have been like the Hills getting the win and then progressing on to another match thanks to the involvement of Kazarian. Or it could have done the other way, which was the ref was so close, being a double count out, which would have led to possibly them wanting to settle this at a later pay-per-view. But minus those 2 ideas, the match ending very great indeed. You could have thought, Daniels is going to flip back and down goes AJ or the other way around. But the finish definitely surprised us. Very nicely done. But AJ's beat Daniels again.
Yeah, we kind of expect that in TNA now. AJ usually beats Daniels. But overall, still a pretty good match. We told a good story. I just wonder, he is kind of TNA's John Cena, and he should be treated like TNA's John Cena as well, because he is the top guy in the company, essentially. I just wonder, is the storyline going to end here? Are they going to continue it? Because I still feel there is a little bit more to this storyline, maybe going into Bound for Glory, who really knows, but we'll see what they do with the storyline now. Yeah, next we had our Ultimate X match for the X Division Championship. Zema Ion versus Sonjay Dutt versus Kenny King versus Mason Andrews. I think, to me, this was probably the most disappointing match of the night. Number 1, it was very short. And number 2, it just didn't captivate me as much as I thought it would, especially with all this sort of new talent in there, excluding Zema Ion. It just didn't captivate me as much as I thought it was. It just didn't get enough time to develop into what I thought could be a very good match to crown a new X Division champion, in my opinion.
Well, the point I want to make with this is pretty much agreeing with what you're saying, but before the pay-per-view started, we watched 2011, and the way that was done, the way they did that, it had more entertainment, more action, concentrating on the wrestlers involved. This year, with the talent they had in the final, I thought this could be pretty much similar because of the great talent they got. But they had a few good spots, like I'm pretty sure you can name in the comments below.
Oh yeah.
But it's just that I didn't really feel that it was the best one compared to what we've seen in the past and what we expect from these wrestlers. So in a way, I was looking forward to this, but coming out of it, I just didn't feel that it was given the hype worthy.
It was a little disappointing, wasn't it? Considering we had all these tournament matches, qualifying matches, And to get something what we got was kind of a little bit disappointing. I was expecting a very good match between these four. Zema Ion gets the victory. I guess they're going to try and really promote this Zema Ion Jesse Sorensen feud now. I hope to God, though, that they still have plans for Kenny King. Because, as I said in a video on my channel earlier today, I thought that Kenny King could definitely be that next big breakout star for Ring of Honor. So I do hope maybe they have Kenny King going into Bound for Glory as the next contender and build him up slowly like they did with Austin Aries. Not sure what they're going to do. It looks like, though, from what they did with the post-match, that they're going to have Zema Ion maybe hold that belt until Jesse Sorensen comes back and build that storyline and surround that around the X Division. Because that's kind of what this post-match interview kind of showed us, wasn't it?
Very true. And look at the way they finished this match. They had Dutt and Ions at the top doing impressive stuff, which we wanted at the very ending. So it's like a wow moment, and we got that. Ions getting the win. It is set up the Sorensen match, probably late down the line. But the way I look at it, on the Go-Home show, we had Aries and King backstage, teasing something there, saying welcome to the X Division. I'm looking forward to your performance. And there's a bit of a shame that he didn't go all the way, but I think TNA have set their mind up because of Sorensen's return and injury, this future match that we're going to be probably getting.
I do hope they sign Kenny King and Sonjay Dutt and some of those guys, because the X Division needs the talent. So, and also, I want to give a quick props to Sonjay Dutt for coming back from that injury to still do the spot at the top. I have a lot of respect for wrestlers that can come back from injuries and please the crowd with, coming back from injuries like that. So we'll move on to the main event. The main event, the match which, I must admit, I was just immensely looking forward to. Bobby Roode versus Austin Aries for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And boy, did this spring a surprise on us, didn't it, MJ?
It did indeed, because going to this match, again, because of the whole build-up of what was going on video package-wise before this pay-per-view, it was definitely hinting up this match that we're probably going to get for Bound for Glory in the end. But the way TNA swerved us with this does get us thinking, what's the result going to be? What's the build-up going to be going for Bound for Glory? Let's
just quickly touch on the match. The match went about 22, 23 minutes. It got a good length of time. The guys worked a pretty good match, in my opinion. I was entertained. I'm glad they didn't just do it as a spot fest like an X Division style. I think they worked more storytelling and more psychology into it, which is what you need to work into these kind of main event matches. Very surprised that Austin Aries won the title. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because they managed to swerve me in that way. And it was, for me, even though I didn't want Aries to win, I wanted them to build to the bigger storyline with Roode and Storm. It still, to me, was a very good feel-good moment to end the pay-per-view that Aries won. Aries won that world title, and it's a staple. Destination X, we're going to have this guy from 1 year earlier getting a contract, and then all of a sudden, 1 year later, winning that world title. Just your thoughts on Austin Aries winning?
Well, first, the match, I'm going to say this straight away. At first, the first few minutes, I just thought, where's the hype for this? We had a great hype, never got this, but the match did, as the match went on, got a lot better, more active, more Austin Aries moves and Bobby Roode moves. It definitely got better as the match went on, and I definitely got a light by the end. It definitely left us wondering the way it was going. Could Roode pick up the win here in a dominant way, which we were all expecting? But to give Aries the win, it kind of throws my idea now of what is this Bound for Glory series going to build up to, which I think TNA were planning on probably doing. Because at the moment in time, we all thought it's all going to add up to Roode and Storm at Bound for Glory. But now they've done this, it makes us wonder, have they got other ideas to make Bound for Glory series change a bit, so we get different ideas going for Bound for Glory. But at the same time, Bobby Roode gets his rematch, and it's going to be pretty sad if TNA are going to make Austin Aries lose.
Yeah, in this match, Bobby Roode tried all the shortcuts that he usually does, and they weren't successful. And Austin Aries gets the win with the Brainbuster, his usual finisher. But it was a good match in my opinion, and a great feel-good moment. And I do wonder if they're going to give Austin Aries a short title reign, and they're still going to do Bobby Roode, James Storm. It's really thrown us off a little bit, because it's kind of swerved us a lot. And even though it was a feel-good moment, I'm like, man, that's kind of really dented that Roode and Storm storyline, which I was really looking forward to. But still a nice feel-good moment. And they used all that Roode momentum and Austin Aries momentum, and it looks like they kind of struck while the going is hot for Austin Aries, and see where they go from here.
I really did enjoy the result of this match. There were many fans on Twitter I thought were going to be disappointed because the amount of people that were behind Aries, because of him being the fan favourite, it kind of swerved us, because obviously we were thinking Roode for their future idea. So Aries put on a great performance, definitely showed that he's main event worthy, and now I'm just looking forward to seeing what direction they go in and who are we going to get for the title at Bound for Glory next.
Yeah, I mean, that will be interesting to see what happens now. Austin Aries is the World Heavyweight Champion, NJ. Man, that's something I never thought I'd say in 2012, despite his meteoric rise into the main event scene. Bloody hell, TNA have surprised me there, that's all I can say. Your overall thoughts on this pay-per-view then, NJ?
Minus the qualifying matches, because again, they were okay, but not the best in my opinion. Then from that, they put on a really strong pay-per-view here. Definitely got my attention throughout each match. The winners were really good, and they all going to lead on something, especially the X Division and the main event lead on something in the future. So it's definitely got me looking forward to seeing what comes next.
Yeah, I mean, we just had a very good and very special feeling 10-year anniversary, and they needed to really cement the X Division in this show. I mean, the qualifying matches did their job, really, but they built up to an Ultimate X match, which was a little bit disappointing, in my opinion. That was really the only flaw of this show. I mean, Kurt Angle Joe was a pretty good, solid, pretty good match. AJ versus Daniels gave us something different. The main event was a great match and gave us a good feel-good moment. TNA gave us the second, in my opinion, good pay-per-view in a row, and I'm really pleased. I'll give this like I guess a B plus. I think it would have got an A minus to an A if the Ultimate X would have been really good, but it just disappointed me a little bit. So I think B plus is a fair score for this pay-per-view. You'll see all my gradings in the description box below to all the matches and stuff like that.
The only thing with me that I'm going to give it a B, going straight towards a B plus, is because most of it was predictable. Obviously, as the show went on, it got more predictable, unless you really predicted beforehand. But the thing that gives me that push towards the B plus is the future, because every pay-per-view does need you to get looking for what comes next, and this pay-per-view offered us that, so it's going to get pretty much a B plus for that reason now.
And the pay-per-view gave us a couple of special moments as well. Aries win, Sorensen returning. There was a couple of special moments in there. So you've heard our thoughts on Destination X 2012. Give us your thoughts on Destination X 2012 down in that comment section below. Interested to know your thoughts on Aries' title win, Zema Iron winning the X Division title, and all the other stuff that happened on this pay-per-view. God, look forward to hearing your comments, guys. And now I'm going to forward you on to NJ here, who's going to provide a very fitting outro for this video.
Then all I'm going to say, people, is now we've got the biggest show to look forward to, the following show, which is going to have a pay-per-view kind of feel to it too.
Oh, yes.
So check that out. We'll review it. Until next time, people, hopefully you've enjoyed the pay-per-view. And from Mr. Parkin and me, NJ, goodbye.